back to another episode of the CrossFit Harrow podcast. Today we have Kiran. Kiran, thank you for joining us. Episode 78. Kiran, the first question I always tend to ask is, why CrossFit Harrow? What brought you to CrossFit Harrow?
I guess a couple of reasons. One, the kind of workouts that are done in CrossFit really appeal to me. So various types of circuits. That's the kind of stuff I've been doing for the last 5 years or so, I would say, in the gym, outside, whatever. So like I would, like for instance, last year over lockdown, I got myself a sandbag, filled it up with like 25 kilos of sand, would go for a walk with that for like an hour, like holding it in different positions or whatever. I think the hour's the longest I did, by the way. So an hour wouldn't be every single time. It'd usually be like half an hour.
That is tough. Sandbags, doing that kind of stuff is...
It's really fun though. It's really fun. And I got some rings as well, some battle rope, and I was just doing all kinds of different workouts outside, circuits. And so this is like the kind of thing that I enjoy doing. And the social aspect as well. So I tutor. I'm a private tutor, so my work is not very social. So I don't meet very many new people. So I wanted to have some kind of social activity that I could do. And I tend to, rather than doing meetups or stuff like that, I prefer to do sports, which are social, and CrossFit is one of those things.
Nice. So with regards to tutoring, what age group? Is that all age groups?
A-levels. A-levels at the moment, yeah.
Is that something you always want to get into?
No, not always. I mean, I only thought about it in my final year of university. So actually, from the age of about 18, when I wanted to go to university, I studied physics at university. I wanted to do a PhD.
Right.
And up until about fourth year, I still had that idea, but then I was just thinking this would be a pretty hard life. It'll be hard. A lot of the people who are doing PhDs, they seemed a lot smarter than I was. So like, I didn't want to be in a position where I would constantly be playing catch up.
Right.
I wanted to do something that felt that I was confident that I could be good at, and I wanted to be self-employed for various reasons. Like all the effort you put in, you get the reward for that.
Yeah.
You can choose your own hours, and yeah, tutoring is rewarding. I think one of the things that really appealed to me about tutoring as well is that I could learn whatever I wanted to learn and then teach that. So I really love learning, and so that's what appealed to me.
Is there a favourite topic or subject that you have?
I teach maths and physics.
Maths and physics.
At the moment, yeah. And so that's full time at the moment. So like during term time, I would work from around 1:30 to 9ish on weekdays, and then on Sundays I would work. Well, I used to work like some days I do 9 till 9 on Sundays. That was way too much. Now I'm doing around 11:30 to 9.
And then I would imagine obviously kids of that age group are still at school, so you're doing a lot of their stuff after school. So
yeah, but A-level students sometimes finish a bit early.
Earlier.
So like that's why I can teach students at like 1:30.
Yeah. So sport-wise, big backgrounds of sport growing up?
Yeah, so I think when I was a kid I swam and played tennis, and those are the two things that I did a lot. And as I was doing that more and more, at some point I was doing like 3 or 4 swims a week. I was doing like 2 or 3 tennis sessions a week, and then I had to choose between one or the other. I chose to swim, so I did that for a few years. I think that's probably one of the fittest I've ever been when I used to swim before. I was swimming like 6 times a week.
Swimming is so underrated.
It's a really good exercise.
Yeah,
it's really fun. I wish I didn't stop it because I wouldn't have all these injuries then. Yeah, so I did triathlon for a while in my late teens, for a couple of yees.
Regular triathlons?
Now I do aqua bikes, but yeah, back then I did triathlon for a few years. Got a running injury, so my arch is like kind of collapsed. So then that stopped me from doing triathlon. Got into university, did a bit of taekwondo for a year. Got into my first fight, realized I didn't like fighting. I actually forgot to mention I did karate before that as well for some time. Got up to black belt, but then I didn't really enjoy it as much as other sports.
Is it because of the solo element?
No, it's not the solo element. I don't mind doing sports alone. Like I mean, the things I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I guess
I swim and cycle. I do that alone.
Yeah. I'm
completely fine exercising alone, but I also need some kind of social aspect, and that's why CrossFit is useful. But otherwise, most of the sports I've done, I've never really done any team sports. I'm more of a just do my own thing. kind of person. And yeah, so realized I didn't like fighting. It's just that feeling of adrenaline and dread before the fight. I just did not like that, and I couldn't get over that. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure fighters love that feeling and overcoming that.
Yeah.
I love watching fighting.
Do you still watch fights to this day?
I watch a lot of UFC at the moment. That's like one of the two sports that I watch, that and F1.
And F1 Formula One, yeah.
Those two things. And then university, then I did weightlifting for like 3 or 4 years, I think.
Okay.
Ollie lifting for about 2 years, maybe 2 to 3 years before I got injured. And I think that's the thing that I progressed the most at, and I had more of a like
an interest?
Interest, yes, but I think that's the thing I just progressed the most at. So like I think my body is probably more built towards gaining strength, but I didn't do it in a sustainable way, so I got injured. But yeah, at the time I was getting ready to qualify for nationals. I was quite close to the weights, so I think at the time, I can't really remember, that the entry weight was 220 in total, 220 kilograms.
Yeah.
For my weight category, which was 77. My snatch was 95. My clean and jerk was 116. So I was, what was that? That's like 9 kilos off. So I was fairly close, but then I got a knee injury, and I was doing physio for that for months and months, but it didn't seem to get much better. And that's when I kind of just transitioned into circuit stuff, because that's all I could really do. I couldn't lift heavy anymore, but I still enjoyed lifting and going to the gym. So I started doing more circuit stuff. And in my 20s, I was doing mostly that. I swam for some time as well at a club, but then the early mornings were too much. I kept getting ill, having to wake up at like 5:30 every day.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well with everyone getting up at that time.
No, because like I see people do it and they seem so fresh and able to do it day in, day out. But for me, my sleep quality is just not very good. I wake up quite frequently in the night, and so having to get up early, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. And so after that point, when I was like, there was like one winter where I got ill like 6 times. I said that I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to wake up early to exercise again.
I believe that actually, that waking up early like that it's very different for everyone.
It's different for everyone, yeah. But
it does put a lot of additional stress on the body.
It does. And when you need that recovery, then waking up early is not going to help with that.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing that anymore now. I pretty much never wake up with an alarm. I just wake up whenever. I mean, I don't have
Does
to.
that seem to be consistent time-wise though?
Well, my sleep quality is not great. I've been struggling with sleep for the last year or so. So right now it's quite varied. So like one day I'd wake up at like 4 o'clock, not be able to get back to sleep. One day I'd sleep until like 8 or 9. So it's quite varied.
Do you think this is a result of the last 2 years?
It's really strange. It's really strange. So like it first happened when I started taking multivitamins.
Right.
Which is the weirdest thing. I didn't even make the connection at the time, but I started taking multivitamins. My sleep got dramatically worse fairly soon after that. And by dramatically worse, I mean like I was waking up after every sleep cycle, really, really thirsty, like dying of thirst, and needed to go to the toilet. And I was drinking in the middle of the night several times, and I would wake up obviously at the end of the night not refreshed at all. And then this happened again when I started taking some multivitamins again. And actually, it just got recently re-triggered by me having a couple of Huel drinks, because they have vitamins in them as well. And so I've been to the GP a few times. They've done some tests on me to check if I have too many of a certain vitamin, but none of the tests came back showing anything that is the case. And the third time I called them saying this is still a problem, they basically said there's nothing we can do. So like, great.
What would you do next?
I don't know. So right now I'm just like, I'm trying to like, I'm logging all of the things that I think could possibly cause this in an Excel spreadsheet, like how much salt did I have today? Did I have sugar before bed? Did I get light in the morning? How intense was my exercise? How much did I drink during the day? What kind of things did I eat? Did I have vitamin-rich food? And I'm logging all of those things and trying to find a pattern, but as of yet, the only thing that I've conclusively figured out that is definitely causing this is having vitamin supplements.
Wow.
Multivitamins specifically, so I'm not sure which vitamin exactly it is. But it seems to me like something else might be wrong. Like this is just triggering it, as opposed to that is the actual problem. Like there's too much of a certain vitamin. I feel like it's triggering something else. So,
have you tried in the let's say if it's, I don't know, a 7Cs multivitamin and there's 7 vitamins in there. Have you tried going through a series of going?
Not yet, no. I mean, right now I'm just avoiding multivitamins
Completely.
except for vitamin D,
Which we don't get enough of anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So like in the winter, I've just started taking it again, basically.
Yeah, they do say as you approach winter, actually, you're supposed to up your vegetable intake.
Is that the case?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident I read that a long time ago. And I want to say specifically broccoli.
Right.
I don't know, that stands out for something. This is quite a few years ago I read that, but...
What does broccoli have in it?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Vitamin K?
I was going to say K too. But going into the winter, if you have more of that specific, or more vegetables in general, they would provide various amounts of vitamins anyway. But having that would actually prevent you from being ill.
Right, I see.
Yeah, quite interesting. A long time ago I read that. So you're trying to figure out now what that could possibly be.
Yeah, basically.
And how long would that affect you for?
Well, I mean, like it was happening on and off for a year, really. And just for like maybe the last 2 months or 3 months, excluding the last 2 weeks, were really good. My sleep was better. I had more energy when I was training. I was getting fitter. I was hitting PBs. But in the last 2 weeks, it's took another dip, and that's after I started taking those fuel drinks. I only had 2, literally just had 2. So it's weird. So I think if this doesn't get better in the next, I don't know, a few weeks or whatever, then I think it's probably time to maybe try the GP one more time, because I'm changing GPs now as I moved house. And if that doesn't work, then it's time to go private. And
see if you
just
can get
have to pay the money for that.
Yeah. Let's go into the weightlifting side. I quite enjoy weightlifting. What made you at uni move over to that? Was it? I know you said at the beginning you like to learn new things. Was that? I was just coming out of taekwondo, I think, because I just realized I didn't really like fighting that much. And I was in the gym just lifting weights, doing various like barbell stuff, deadlifts, squats. I wasn't particularly strong though. I was fairly weak. And I saw this guy, this big guy, like he weighs at least 100 kilograms, and he was doing clean and jerks at the time, and he was lifting probably around a good shape 100 kilo or out of shape?
Kind of out of shape. Sorry, Tom.
Sorry.
He's probably not going to hear this anyway. But yeah, so, and he was lifting quite a heavy weight, and I saw him doing that, clean and jerking that. I thought, wow, that looks fucking cool, and I thought I'd want to do that. And so I started doing it, got into it. One of the coaches at the gym taught it to me, and the community at UCL was really good. Like there were quite a few people into Olympic lifting at the time. And a lot of them were quite nerdy, as a lot of Ollie lifters are, I'd imagine. Very much into perfecting their form. We all helped each other with technique and stuff like that. And yeah, eventually I just got better and better, kept getting stronger and stronger, and eventually I was lifting more than him, which was, which was really cool. Yeah,
that must have been pretty cool.
That was cool.
Talk us through, because being part of the CrossFit environment and the weightlifting side, and having that experience of giving people a sight into like the progress made in terms of why progress is made through weightlifting and like the increments in weight, because I think you've got you're quite self-aware in terms of lifts that you're, in terms of your numbers, how to increase in weight, kind of what stimulus, etc. So if you can, try and give people an understanding of the relationship you had with the barbells, let's say, or the weight growing up through doing the weightlifting. Like it wasn't a case of like, I'm going to put this weight on, just find out what happens.
Yeah. Oh, I have to go back, try and remember what my programming was like back then.
Because it's a very patient game.
It is a very patient game, and there's a lot of squatting. It's not just a case of like going in there and just clean and jerking and snatching all the time. There's a lot of drills that you need to do to like perfect those two techniques, trying to identify what weaknesses you might have, and a lot of squatting. So like, as I'm sure a lot of people would be aware of here, like the way to get stronger at bodylifting is to do a lot of squatting. Like that's the best way to get stronger at it. So a lot of my time spent training would have been doing those various drills and squatting. Yeah, I can't really remember too much about what kind of program I did that thing, but I remember that when I went to Westway Barbell Club.
Oh yeah.
The coach there was more about lifting heavy quite frequently.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that was the best thing for me, really.
Well, there are various methods.
Yeah, like the Bulgarian method, is that the one, I think?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Or even like, let's say, views or beliefs of
there are.
lifting a certain way X amount of times.
And some people even believe like just not even going heavy that much, just doing loads of reps is the way to get stronger.
There is research and studies show that a lot of weightlifting should be done between 70 to 85% of your max without having to, like, you obviously establish what your max is, and then a lot of lifting is done between 70 to 85%.
Right, I see, okay.
And I can't remember where I read this, but it's something ridiculous. Like, you guys have heard me in the gym say this, like, you need to do something between 23 to 27 repetitions between 60 and 75%.
And in a go?
No. Just essentially to switch on your central nervous system to make you feel that weight, be more aware of that weight, get you nice and, let's say, hot and warm and everything before you're ready to lift any.
So you do basically like 3 sets of 8 or something?
Yeah, like a lot of warm-up sets. Between 60 and 75, or between 65 and something like that, to switch on the central nervous system. That was quite an interesting reading. There's been studies to show that actually applying that, because it's the load on the body and the joints, you tend to have a better, let's say, weightlifting experience. A lot of people think just every week I need to put on more. But as you know, having done it, some weightlifters will only put on like 2.5 kilo over 4 years.
Yeah.
Especially like watching the Olympics.
Yeah, for sure. So now I'm doing more cardio stuff, cycling and swimming more. And like I was reading this triathlon book recently, and it said like 70% of your exercise should be below your aerobic threshold, which is for me like it's 65% of your maximum heart rate. And that's not very hard.
No,
that's not very hard.
In fact,
and I was thinking like, fucking hell, I've been like pushing myself so hard all this time, and I realized like the majority of my workout should be kind of easy.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. There's a book, I was listening to the audio of it. I think it's Ben Grenfell or Greenfell, something like that. Can't remember the name of the book. Training something. But anyway, he describes his black hole training, similar to what you're saying. A lot of our training is in this black hole, because on days that we should be working out, it's too high, too high, and then something to do with like on days that we're supposed to be like exerting our max, it's not high enough.
That's one of the things that I read as well a few years ago. I was reading a book by Dan John. He's just a strength athlete, I think, a coach, and I think one of the things he said was that people's highs are too low and their lows are too high.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Which is what you were saying. Yeah. And that's like that's basically the kind of philosophy that I'm trying to have on my training now. But that said, I have a coach now, so like I don't need to worry about any of that anymore. He's gonna sort it all out.
It's good because day to day in the gym, like you'd see it around. People are doing like 4, 5, 6, and not just in CrossFit gyms. Like this is across the world. Like 4, 5, 6 sessions a day, and they end up like getting into this black hole worth of training where it's hard enough that they're sweating from it, but actually not hard enough that they're getting the right stimulus out of it, or like you said, too low when it should be high, or high and low and stuff. So it is very fascinating to once having read that or listened to that part of the book, I've noticed it a lot more, how we do it on and even you see the stuff through social media as well. It's just try this workout, how fast can you do this, and it's actually not necessarily always about that, but it's interesting about that low threshold. Okay, so weightlifting wise, continues to do that for 2-3 years.
I did that for 2-3 years, and then I got that knee injury. So that was a real bummer, because I was really enjoying weightlifting, and it's just such an exhilarating sport. Yeah, like throwing yourself under a bar that could kill you if it fell on you. Well, that happened, or it nearly happened to one of the, didn't actually watch any of the competitions recently. No, one of the years and years ago, I think his name's Kevin Ogar. I don't know if the barbell landed on him, and he done something quite bad to his neck, and it paralysed him from the waist down. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
If you Google, if the guys who are listening, if you Google Kevin Ogre, you can actually watch the video online. Yeah. And they do this massive fundraiser thing every year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is an exciting sport.
It's really fun. It's really exhilarating.
If you were to start that again, what would you do if we to go back? What would you do differently?
I think if I were to start that again, what I would do differently is I'm still not entirely sure what's causing this injury, but I think like I have an idea. Like I think what my physio has basically told me is like I need to like loosen up my IT band and my quads, but I have a feeling there's more imbalances there that need to be addressed. So I think I would probably. I would say get all these coaches and things like that, but I was a student at the time, so I couldn't really afford too much, I don't think. But if I did have some spare cash, then see a physio fairly regularly, just for all the little niggles I had, and as my girlfriend did, but she was doing taekwondo before, get a strength and conditioning coach, someone who really knows like how to maintain a balanced body, which is less prone to injury.
Yeah.
So I definitely have some imbalances.
Strength and conditioning coaches are underrated too, the majority of them.
Right.
They actually they do similar to what we would do, but on a more scientific level,
on a personal basis.
Yeah. And you're right. A lot of S&C coaches would look at some of the styles might be very old school, traditional, but actually balancing the body there'd be a lot of drills that they would do that you'd look in if it was happening in any gym, they'd be like, oh, that I've never seen that before, that's new, and it would probably have no correlation to the actual movement that you're trying to improve, but it would be relevant to a body part that requires more strength where there's an imbalance.
Yeah, I can just tell by looking at myself that my quads are way bigger than my hamstrings. That's probably from all the squatting I did, and maybe from my body proportions as well, like my femur length and that kind of thing.
People don't realise that though. They don't realise how important, like the load that you put on your body with regards to levers. There is a certain build for weightlifting. There definitely is a certain build.
I don't have that build. My limbs are quite long.
Yeah, long limbs is hard. It's not hard as a weightlifter, but it's
harder.
Yeah, it's harder.
The Chinese people with their tiny backs.
Yeah.
I mean long backs. Tiny limbs.
Yeah. There is definitely, and sometimes people say like, why can't I do this or why can't I do that? It's like some people could just not built for it and just don't have the flexibility or mobility at that.
To get to that kind of higher level,
Yeah.
Like there is definitely an element of like a huge element of genetic potential as well.
I can't remember the Chinese weightlifter's name. Ling Zhao, number one weightlifting. I can't pronounce his name.
Maybe?
Yeah. There's a video on YouTube that describes that he traditionally clean and jerk would be a split jerk.
Yeah.
But they identified that his body isn't built for split jerking, so he just doesn't do it. He just squat jerks. Which requires tremendous strength
and mobility.
Yeah. And that's they just and obviously when you get to that level, there's a lot more like research and science behind it of like you as a person. They study you in terms of levers, like muscle size, etc. But yeah, that's what they've done to him, and he found out that he can't split jerk.
I can't squat jerk.
Yeah, it's very hard.
It's very hard.
It is very hard. Okay, so after Ollie lifting, well, we said the thing that you would change and do differently. What? Just work more with an S&C coach.
Yeah, and get more regular physio.
Physio.
Probably not lift heavy as much, I would say, because I think that probably wore me out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think when I got the injury, stop sooner. And then really try to address whatever was causing that thing.
Yeah.
I think those are the main things I would have done.
So I think when we're at that age, you're almost like your body just recovers like so quickly.
It does, yeah.
You just go for it.
It really does. And like I had the ankle injury, but with most kinds of tendinitis related injuries, it just got better for me. Maybe do a few drills, some stretching, some isolation exercises, and it gets better. But in this case, that didn't happen for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay, so we got after Ollie lifting. What happened next? Where did sport take you?
So I wasn't really doing much competitive sport for years, and only now am I getting back into doing like competing again. So yeah, I was doing mostly circuit stuff myself, just training by myself in the gym.
Yeah.
Doing the things that I was talking about with like sandbags and stuff like that. And then I swam for like 2 or 3 years in a club again. So
relived that swimming experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was really enjoying it, but it's just the mornings again. The mornings were just too much, so I had to stop that. There was no way that I could keep doing that with the sleep that I was getting.
I would imagine there's probably not a lot of swimming clubs that happen during the week, during the day, because
None.
it's before.
It's really
and
hard to find. Like, I mean, I joined a swimming club recently this summer, just to do one session a week that they had. On the weekends they had a 7:30 start, which is not that late.
Yeah,
not that early rather. And so yeah, I would have been paying like £50 a month for that one session a week, which I was okay to do if the session was good, but the session was not good.
Oh right.
When I got there, the coach came up to me and said, "So the guys here, they kind of just do their own thing. So are you happy to do that, or should I give you a program?" I was like, well, I kind of want a program, and he gave me something to do. It wasn't that he didn't give me anything to do, but I think it was just that people weren't all doing the same thing. There wasn't that sense of competition and that camaraderie. It was just people doing their own thing in the lane and then having a chat, and I didn't really enjoy that. I mean, I could just do that at the public pool.
Yeah, of course. What was your stroke in swimming? What was your favourite stroke?
Well, when I was a kid, I really liked breaststroke and front crawl. But now because the things that I'm doing right now, the things that I'm competing in right now, are aqua bikes, which is swim and then cycle. So I just do front crawl now pretty much.
And what's the distance of the aqua bike?
Well, the ones that interest me the most are the sprint ones. So the sprint ones would be a 750 meter swim, and then followed by a 20k bike, which would take under an hour.
Yeah. And because I didn't realise that, I didn't realise that it's usually the bike and run, is it not, for like a duathlon? Is it?
So a duathlon, I think that's run bike run.
Oh right,
run
bike.
That's a duathlon.
Okay.
Triathlon is swim bike run.
Swim bike run, yeah.
And then you have like aquathon, which is like swim run or run swim run. Probably swim run, because you usually wouldn't jump into a wetsuit in the middle of a race. You come out of a wetsuit, but getting into a wetsuit is a bit long. So
have you been doing these open water?
Yeah, I've only done a few though so far.
Open water scary. People have heard me say this.
It is scary. The first time I did it, this was back in 2010, when I first did a lake swim. I actually had like a mini panic attack in the water, because like I was just not used to swimming in a place where I couldn't see the bottom. And
touch the side.
My swimming ability is good. Like, I've been swimming a long time. I'm very confident that I can swim for a long time, for hours.
Yeah.
But just being in that scenario where I couldn't see the bottom of the lake is scary. And now I'm a bit more used to it, but it's still like I'm not very comfortable with it. And also wetsuits are fiddly and like constraining. And last time I did a race, I just felt like I couldn't breathe very much. I'm not sure if that was because, I think it's just simply because the wetsuit was tight. I think it's that, because the time before that when I did a lake swim, I didn't feel like I was panicking.
But they say you need experience in a wet, like if it's your first time doing it, it's quite tough.
Yeah, that was the first time in that wetsuit.
Because you can't just wear it in the house and get used to it.
Yeah, you can't really wear it. I'm not sure if you can wear it in a pool. I don't think you can.
No, I'm not sure you can.
Because it would just be too hot.
Yeah.
You just overheat like straight away.
Unless you ran the shower, but that would also be very, very strange.
There are some outdoor pools that are fucking freezing.
Yeah.
Really cold. Yeah. Like shivering cold. Like, you have to swim fast, otherwise you're going to be cold.
Cold, yeah.
And I think in those kinds of places you could probably wear a wetsuit.
Yeah. And then you've got written down hiking. Do you find you still into that? Is that something you still do?
So because of the foot injury, I don't do it as much as I used to.
Okay.
Because from triathlon, from running. But when I was younger, I used to do hiking quite a lot.
Right.
So like in my gap year, I did an expedition to Oman for a couple of months.
Oh wow.
So like me and about 15 people in total, I'd say. We went to Oman, did various science surveys, and hiked around a lot in the desert. And
was that just backpack?
Yeah, backpack. We had all our own food as well. So like what would happen is we had a huge supply of food. We would drive out to a certain place in the desert with our 4x4s, and then we would stay there for a while, maybe do some local hikes around, and live off that food and water and whatever. That was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
As an 18-year-old doing that, It was at that point, until that point, that was the best experience of my life.
Was there any point doing that where you're like, I've run out of water, I'm fucked?
No. I mean, it was well organized. So like we had plenty of water there, and we knew where the nearby wells were, and our vehicles were running and everything, so we could just go there and stuff.
Because I would imagine that the first thing to do in that heat would be like, I'm thirsty, I want to drink.
Right.
And then you would keep that cycle up.
Yeah. No, I wasn't too worried about that. I trusted the organization of the expedition. What I was worried about though, one time, which no one else seemed to be really worried about, was getting trampled by cows. Because there was this one time when we were camping out in this what's called a wadi, which is like a dry valley, I think, seasonal rains. And we were in this valley, and there was this herd of cattle that would walk through every day or whatever, and like in the middle of the night as well. And we were, throughout the whole time, we didn't sleep in tents, except for a couple.
Goes without saying.
Yeah, and so we were just sleeping in our sleeping bags and on the floor. And I was worried that I'd get trampled on by a cow, because there were like wolves, hyenas around and stuff like that. Nothing that is dangerous to humans, because they're all quite small creatures. All of the animals there, the leopards, the wolves, they're all quite small. They don't attack humans. They're quite scared of humans. But if one of those things attacked a cow and there was a stampede, get trampled on them.
Yeah.
Of that.
Wow. You said that was your, minus that experience, that but you said that was one of your best experiences to date. What else is up there with one of your best experiences to date?
It's kind of cringe, but falling in love.
Okay.
I think that's probably that, as well as weightlifting. Those are probably they kind of coincided together.
Okay.
Like I met the girl that I'm with now.
Through weightlifting?
Not through weightlifting, but at that same time.
Okay.
6-7 years ago. That was probably one of the best experiences of my life as well.
That's so nice to hear.
Yeah. I know it feels weird talking about it a lot, but like, I guess like you have a vision of like what your life is going to be like when you meet this certain someone, and then when you meet that person and that vision starts to actually become true. Then that's an amazing feeling. Yeah.
Amazing. That is, I think that's the first time we've ever heard something. I think that's really amazing. So
I was lucky. I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not everyone has, whether they talk as highly. I think if they put it in the same category, maybe because that would be the first time that I've asked that question and someone had gone and put love in that category. So
I think I have a feeling that a lot of people might not want to say that.
Say
as
it.
Well.
Yeah.
But if I were to be honest, and like,
I think it's admirable. I think it's amazing.
I don't want to like go around saying that to people. Oh, the best experience that I had was falling in love. You miserable single fuck. I don't want to say that to people.
But no, it's it definitely, it takes you. You're confident in that, and it's been highlighted, as you said, your what you envisioned is starting to become real, and that's why it's given you such an amazing experience. Mm-hmm. What's the plan for what else was in that vision? What leads? What's the next thing?
Having kids, I guess.
Yeah,
that's probably the next thing. Yeah, I think my girlfriend's really passionate about having kids. At the moment, I'm not like I think I want to have kids, but I'm not like really passionate as she is about it. But I'm preparing for it. So like, yeah.
Well, I think mentally you have to be there, because I mean I don't have the experience of being a
I think
parent.
So too. Yeah. So I definitely need to think about that more.
You have to become selfless.
Yeah.
And give your it's hard giving your time up.
It is. Yeah. It really is. To someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be in that space that you're completely ready. And
it's also kind of difficult for me to visualize it, because I was the youngest sibling.
Right.
I never had any other kids who were like significantly younger than me that I have ever had to nurture or take care of. Whereas my girlfriend, she's the eldest of 5 siblings.
Wow. So she would have done
4 younger kids.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time she was also like definitely somewhat of a maternal role to those kids.
I think a lot of women have it in them anyway, generally, don't they?
I think so.
It's more, they do have that maternal thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys, I think, get better at it.
I think we kind of figure out when the baby pops out.
Yeah.
And then you.
Well, we're yet to know. We'll find out. I'm
maybe
sure.
I will.
Yeah. Okay, and then we've written down just a couple of things to discuss with regards to like health. Where would you prioritize? I mean, just by what you've said, it sounds like your health is quite important to you.
Yeah, definitely.
But what are ways that you improve your health, which maybe people wouldn't see, wouldn't normally do, or maybe it's new to them? Is there anything that you do in particular?
I've started doing intermittent or time restricted eating recently.
Fine.
So I guess that might not be so common. So like every day I would start eating around like 11 or 12, and then finish eating around 7. Most days I would do that. I'm still playing around with it right now. That kind of schedule seems to work for me because I don't really get too hungry in the mornings.
But that could also be to do with the sleep pattern and stuff as well. That could just suit you naturally.
It could do, yeah.
Yeah.
It could do. But yeah, it's meant to have loads of benefits. There's like a lot of the tests have been done on animals. So like I don't think there's as many human tests on this as there have been for animals. But like things like improved cardiovascular ability, improved focus, and all the like different organs in your body working better because they have that rest from eating. I think the idea is that like once you start eating, as soon as you start eating, you start various biological clocks in your body. And then as the day goes on, let's say you start eating at like 6 and then you have another meal at like 8 or 9 or something. By that point, your body is not as able to absorb those nutrients and tackle that food in the same way that it would have been in the morning. So it's a lot more taxing. And like your ability to, like your blood glucose levels would be different if you had the same meal in the morning versus in the evening, for that exact same reason. So like that's why I think the idea is you want to try and keep that eating windows relatively small. Yeah.
I want to put a disclaimer out there and say to people that are listening to this that is not necessarily just the way to lose weight or fix or improve your foods. You have a lot of experience in, I would imagine, nutrition throughout the years of training.
Yeah.
For those of you who are struggling to maintain your weight or eat properly, you need to find consistency in your diet before you start reducing the times of eating.
So like I'm not actually reducing calories as well. I'm still eating the exact same like amount.
You're just getting it at a certain time frame.
You're just getting it at a certain time frame. Yeah. So
So
my diet is the same as what it was before.
I think that's a lot. Well, a lot of people do change that. But I wanted to put that out there because a lot of people listen to this and think, oh, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to fast. And that's the way to do it.
My intention was not really to lose weight.
Of course.
It's just for like health reasons, to give my body a break from eating, basically.
Yeah. As I said, I think with your background, you've naturally been quite pretty tuned into your food and intake, and because it's also quite a big important aspect for your recovery and your performance. Yeah. What has worked before this? What has worked really, really well for you in terms of what you have taken in?
I'm not sure. That's a hard question to say. I'm quite insensitive to these kinds of like changes in food and stuff like that. What would have been good for me?
Did you find that a big breakfast? Did you find that a consistent amount of meals throughout the day? Did you find that not eating at a certain time in between training or whatnot?
Well, I train in the morning now without having eaten anything, and I have plenty of energy. I don't find at all that I'm running out of energy.
What time did you say, sorry, your bedtime? Like you usually
I go to bed around 10.
Around 10.
And that's like fairly religious. Like I usually am in bed like 10 or soon after. Yeah, I'd have the odd day or here or there where I'm doing something, but yeah, I'm fairly consistent with my bedtime. But then waking up is a whole other story because of my sleep quality. Yeah. I think not eating in the morning is good. I've enjoyed that. I feel like I have loads of energy for my workouts. I'm not worrying about my stomach, like having eaten too soon before my workout or something like that. Yeah, I mean, my cardiovascular ability has improved since I've started doing this, but there's so many other things that I've been doing as well. I'm not going to say that it's due to that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sure.
No, interesting. What would be now your focus for the next, or what is your focus now for the next 6-12 months, fitness-wise?
So I've got this new coach who's going to be coaching me for aqua bikes. So, I mean, he's going to be giving me my plans. CrossFit for me right now is more of a way of having fun, is also just staying strong and not getting injured. So like having those range of movements that will just enable me to keep on doing swimming and cycling without getting injured, and also just staying generally strong and healthy.
Yeah.
So like I do have some goals in terms of times and things like that I would like to hit, but it's hard for me to say like in this time I want to hit this thing, because what if my sleep gets worse again? Like I'm not going to be able to improve much if that's the case, like it is right now for the last couple of weeks. So health wise, the goal would be to try and sort out this sleep issue. Fitness wise, I want to try and compete in some bigger races if possible. Right now, I've just been doing mostly like entry level races where the standard has not been super high. I've been doing fairly well in them, but like I want to get fitter and compete in something bigger.
Raising the competition floor or generally raise the performance.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I just want to get faster. I don't know exactly what time that I can get, because I'm not really sure like how much I can consistently improve each month.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's another hard thing of training as well, is that there are going to be times where you don't consistently improve.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like the last like year, I've been cycling fairly consistently. I didn't see much improvement at all. But then in the last 2 or 3 months, when my sleep was better, I saw massive improvement.
Yeah.
That also coincided with when I started CrossFit. It's really hard to say like what caused it. Has it been the time restricted eating? Has it been CrossFit? Has it been my sleep is better? I'm assuming it's a combination of all of them.
All three, yeah.
So yeah, I'll take whatever improvements when I can and just keep on trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. And then what about, personal life? Like, are you going to take tutoring to a different level? Is it, that you obviously mentioned at the beginning that you always want to be self-employed, always wanted to work for yourself. Is that going to go, are you going to take that bigger? Are you happy where you are currently? Are you, goals wise, are you fine with, like, are you good?
So, I mean, I was temporarily happy for a while with where I was. Like, I'd reached a level where I could afford to do all the things I wanted to do, was still like saving for a pension. I wasn't saving for a house or anything in the last few years. I've been mostly just putting my money into a pension. But now I'm at the age now where, like, in a few years, my girlfriend's a year younger than me, so she's 27 right now. We'll want to have kids in like 3 years or something like that. That probably might be a good time. Buy a house in a similar kind of time, or start saving for a house at least in a similar kind of time. So I need to increase my income. And she's also not working that much right now, because over the last like 2 years, I think, she's been suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome. She's getting better, but it's taking a lot of time. She's had like some childhood trauma. I think she's just getting through that. So I need to be able to obviously provide for myself, save for a house, provide for her, provide for kids. So I basically need to double my income.
You get to work, Kiran.
So like basically, I've set myself out a plan. The next thing that I'm going to be basically doing is making YouTube videos for physics and maths. Try and gain some reputation and following from that. Charge more, make courses, and yeah, hopefully that will do it.
Amazing. Sounds good. Kiran, thank you for your time. We have run out of time for today. All the best, and thank you very much. Tune in again next week for another episode. See you later.